It's a brand new week. Hello, welcome. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlimle on digital address GA0992539. Our lead stories this hour. Tertiary institutions reopen with in-person classes after a long COVID break. We go across campuses to find out how they are adjusting and how they are ensuring COVID-19 protocols. In Ghana's COVID-19 cases rise from a little above 900 to 1,261 in less than 10 days with 44 severe cases. The Ghana Medical Association is demanding a review of the COVID-19 protocols.
Until about, I would say 10 days ago, that we started having slightly higher cases than discharges. So if you have more cases than discharges, then it tells you that you are going to have an increase in active cases. So I would say that over the past 1 week, there's an increase in the number of cases. But I want to put something.
We'll tell you more of that now. Parliament's conflicting interest of control and to frustrate. We explore the reasons underpinning the unparliamentary behavior of both NPP and NDC members of the House at the dawn of the 8th and newest Parliament while they chose Speaker. We hear from legal practitioners pushing for constitutional reviews as part of the solution to the problem that horrified the nation. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube and on our social media handles. You can send us a WhatsApp to 0540109009. My name is Gifty Andropia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Let's settle now for the details. Now, following a directive from President Akufo-Addo, various tertiary institutions have begun admitting freshmen and women and continuing students to allow for academic activities to continue. While some are excited about the prospect of tertiary education, others are stranded because of their inability to secure accommodation. The University of Ghana is having difficulties getting rooms for a student. My colleague Kweku Asante was there earlier. He spoke to some of them. Take a look.
Level 400. Yes. Okay. That's enough. So, I mean, we all know about this perennial accommodation challenge on campus. We don't even know the number of beds available that all Legon Hall prospective residents are coming to apply for. How excited are you? How sure are you that you will get a bed?
I'm hopeful. Yes, I'm just hopeful that I'll get a bed.
Right. Did you speak to King Agokoli this morning so that maybe they would all do something for you?
No, I prayed. Yes.
Right. Please, what's your name?
Gifty.
Gifty. Are you coming to do the same thing?
Yes, please.
Right. So, did you apply to only Legon Hall or you tried your luck with other halls?
No, I tried with the other traditional halls.
So, it means that prior to today, you've always been a non-resident?
Yes.
You've always been a non-resident.
Yes.
Okay, I wish Etonam and Gifty, right? I wish you all the best as you apply to come to Legon Hall. Legon Hall is actually the premier hall. It's actually the first hall that was constructed here at the University of Ghana over 50 years ago. Let me speak to some other students who have also converged here and also take their thoughts on what exactly they are coming to do here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, what's your name?
Victoria.
Victoria. So, what is your mission here this morning?
Yeah, we are here to do the manual registration.
Are you a continuing student or a fresh student?
First student, yes.
So which senior high school are you coming from?
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph. Right. Okay. So I wish you all the best as you start your academic journey. Right. So a number of people here, I've spoken to some of them. The challenges are a bit diverse. There are those who could not get a bed at all, and so they are expecting that management will do something for them this morning. There are those who are able to apply but have some challenges because their beds all of a sudden were not available online, and according to management of the university, they should not have been able to apply for those beds, and so there were some technical challenges with that, and they would fix it. So I have here some students leaders who have been trying to find some answers to some of this. We are expecting that we'll speak to Professor Wiafia Kenten. He is the head of halls here at the University of Ghana. He's also the hall master here at the Legon Hall. I will take some answers in terms of why all these are happening and what exactly the answers are for these students who are finding something. So let me go back to where I started from, where some Legon University of Ghana students have already gathered to try and find some answers to this. So let's take a walk to that place. But we are expecting that by close of day or by close of this week, a few challenges that have come up so far would have been fixed. So I have some student leaders of the University of Ghana that I'm going to take their thoughts from and also find the ways in which they are trying to fix it. I know most of them by just their first names, so I'll let them tell us what their full names are, what their roles here at the University of Ghana, at the SRC or the JCRS, and then we'll take what they are all doing to do that. So, what's your full name?
My name is Mohammed Abdul Salam.
Mohammed Abdul Salam.
Yes, I am the Academic Affairs Chairman of the UGS Housing.
Right.
Yeah, my name is Ebenezer Jan. I'm the Intelligence and Student Affairs Chairman.
My name is Akin Sopuku and I'm the SRC PRO.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Soalai, I'm President of the Finance Department.
Right. So these students, leaders, are all here at Legon Hall this morning, and Legon Hall has become sort of a hotbed, a hotspot for all that is happening on campus. So far, we've not had much of a challenge with other particular halls in terms of whatever they are doing. But at Legon Hall, some 2 rooms, L6 and G26, were either mistakenly uploaded online or there were some challenges with them. And so students who apply to those particular rooms obviously are not going to get into. So let me start with the Intelligence Affairs Committee. Were you able to pick any intelligence that some of these things are going to happen?
Yes, I think right from the beginning when they introduced these particular policies, the entire student populace had so many challenges with regards to, accommodation and then how we can contain the the COVID-19. So in our argument as an SRC, we then had to, narrow down our argument to some specific reasons. And then the reason number 1 is the 6 weeks, challenge that we had that will not be able to complete the entire semester. Already, students had challenges even with the normal 13 weeks on campus. So if you are telling us that we are going to spend only 6 weeks on campus, we will not be able to finish some courses. So students had so many challenges, but we were able to narrow down this particular challenge to the 6 weeks. And then when we met management, additional 3 weeks has also been added. So instead of the normal 9 weeks that ordinarily we should have spent on campus, we've had now 12 weeks to spend on campus. Absolutely.
Right. So let me go to Abdul. And Abdul, you are the Academic Affairs Committee head, and academics is not a standalone thing. It works with other variables. Accommodation is part. People have to be able to get somewhere and say that this is where I'm laying my head, so that they are distressed and be able to focus on the academics. How do you think people are going to manage? Because a lot of freshmen are coming in, they don't have beds, they applied, they couldn't get, or they applied, they went to pay their fees, and later on they were told that there were some challenges, and so they cannot come here. How is the SRC trying to deal with all these?
Well, honestly speaking, matters of accommodation has always been a problem on campus. But this year is a special year because of the introduction of the double track system. And as a matter of fact, like you mentioned, you need to sleep very well, have a place to be able to learn very well. And academics goes hand in hand with comfort. If you're not comfortable, you're probably not going to study well. So as an SRC, I think a board was constituted to look into alternative means of securing accommodation for people. I think the board is here to come out with their findings. So when that is done, I think we'll be able to come out with clear-cut solutions for this accommodation problem. But nonetheless, I think if you are a fresher and you are on campus and probably you have not gotten into any of the halls, I think there are private hostels around. There's Hachu, there's Opunglo. If you are able to secure an accommodation around these places, I think it will be better for you, because coming to campus back and forth will probably cost you money. And also, the university has resorted to the online system. So I think it will be of help if we also take these innovative ways of learning. It will also help us in our studies. And I think they should take the online system very serious.
Right. So personally, when I came to the University of Ghana some few years back, I was coming from Koforidua, and so imagine I'm from Koforidua and then I don't get a bed. Am I going to commute from Koforidua to Accra daily to be able to undertake my academic activities, or what do I do? Let me speak to the public relations officer. They're doing a double track sort of, right? And even with double track, look at the kind of challenges that have come up. Are you one of those who are of the school of thought that the university's double track plan is not because of COVID, but because of accommodation?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, because when the university actually introduced the modular system, okay, there were a few reasons why they introduced the modular system. And one of those reasons were the accommodation was issues, and other reasons. For example, I mean, the online system where you remember that before COVID, okay, when COVID came and then school actually broke, okay, we introduced an online system. Are you getting me? And after the online system, I think that most students generally, okay, were satisfied with the online system. And so basically, the reason why the university proposed this modular system in this double track is that let us allow our students to come on campus so that they have access to our ICT facilities, so that at least, okay, those that were complaining that we didn't have network, we didn't have, ICT facilities, they could actually have access to them now. And so I wouldn't subscribe to that assertion that the only reason for the modular system was to solve accommodation issue. That I wouldn't subscribe to that.
Well, if you're one of those students who have been stranded, how about you text us and let's know what your thoughts are. How do you think we can deal with this age-old problem? Well, earlier today, head of halls at the University of Ghana, Dr. Brenya Wiafe Akenteng, indicated that there are measures put together to ensure that students do get beds.
All right, so Doc, I still believe there is a significant number of students who are still not able to apply, or schools do not still have halls at this moment. So what is the way forward for these students?
The way forward for this student is, for instance, by next week, when those who got the room and those who didn't register, the university and the halls will also do what we call mop-up. We do that by looking at who registered. Has the person also come to the hall to take possession of the bed? Those who have not, they will be up for those who are.
Is this the same online system, or do you have to come and apply?
We will decide. It depends on the committee, resident board will decide, depending on the numbers involved. We will decide, and the right procedure will be taken to ensure that it is done. But in future, the university is also looking out to those who have facilities that can be rented to students. And we've university have put up adverts. I'm sure probably you saw it. If you have a facility within 12 kilometers radius, you apply online to the university, it will be inspected, and they will also be made available to students. But that is not for this academic year, going forward for next academic year. So the university is working extremely hard to ensure that as many students as possible that want to avail themselves with either on campus or the nearby facility will be able to get those ones.
Well, the number is 0540109009. We want to hear from you. Now, while this arrangement will allow for the resumption of face-to-face or in-person interactions between students and the teachers, there are growing concerns about how the school will enforce strict COVID-19 protocols to prevent the spread of the virus. Manuel Kranting has more in this report.
All universities, senior high schools, and basic schools, i.e. public and private schools, will be closed Monday, 16th of March 2020, till further notice.
This announcement by President Akufo-Addo will change the face of education in Ghana at all stages, particularly the tertiary level. In no time, online education will replace the conventional face-to-face mode of teaching and learning, at least for the next 9 months, when the schools will remain closed. As students return en masse to resume academic activities, management of educational institutions are exploring varied options in a bid to limit the possibility of contraction and spread of the coronavirus. At the University of Ghana, where one of Ghana's first 2 cases was recorded, this caution cannot be overemphasized, even if it means sticking to its e-learning module and running a shift system to curtail the number of students present on campus at a particular time. Professor Nanaba Apia Amfo is Pro-Vice Chancellor of the school.
And so this arrangement then allows students to come on campus. It allows them to access our IT resources on campus. So both internet access and then the appropriate technological gadgets. So by allowing just about half of the student population to come on campus at a time, we reduce the population density that would be on campus at a particular time. And so we are able to minimize any infections that may crop up.
This will, however, not go without agitation from students, especially because the new arrangement will reduce the duration of a semester for a particular stream from 13 weeks to 6. Acting SRC president of the school, Nanamo Into Fianco, believes this will significantly impede academic work.
According to the modular system, the number for teaching and learning is 6 weeks. But the SRC proposed to the school's management that if it's possible, we should try as much as we can to add at least 3 or 2 weeks to the number of weeks that has been proposed or suggested to students. And we made a case that there are some students whose courses are very practical and very demanding. Of course, we are not trying to say that some courses are relevant than the other, but there are some courses that even with the normal 16 weeks that are being given them to study, they struggle to pass. How much more giving these students 6 weeks to study?
But for most of the freshers, the experience of a full-blown online teaching and learning module is new and presents too much uncertainties.
It's not that easy for me because from SHS, we are not equipped to that online program. So since we are doing it through online, it's somehow difficult for me. I prefer there should be a manual system, but due to the pandemic, how will you do it? You have to manage.
We did IT, but we didn't get the time to use the online, so coming here will be good.
It wouldn't be very easy because I am coming from Accra and I'm a little bit okay with the literacy system, as in the IT system, but those coming from the villages who have had admissions here would find it very difficult because they don't know much about the system and how the school runs.
Just like students, lecturers at the university are also worried about how their workload will be increased under the arrangement, which will have at least some of them buried in work all year round. Secretary of UG-UTAG, Dr. Bethel Kwansa Bentum, hopes the modular system ends with the academic year.
It's going to be difficult for we, the lecturers, and the students as well. We don't have any option. The point is, if the students are not here, we will be out of job. I personally do not expect this to go beyond this academic year. After this academic year, we are hoping that this modular, certainly there will be some issues that we can't foresee at the moment. But I believe that all of us wish we go back to the normal 13 weeks because, in fact, it's about teaching and learning, not just teaching.
But management of the school maintains that as long as the virus remains a threat, this may be the best shot at having a smooth academic year.
I think that we continue to assure our students and calm them down that whatever we are doing, it is in their best interest. In fact, this arrangement is putting a lot more load on our faculty and staff.
Like many of the sectors which have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, the education sector, of course, where the University of Ghana largely plays, has also been affected. With all the interests at play, the teaching community, the students, and the university management, well, everybody is seeming to compromise to some extent. It waits to be seen how this innovation of a modular system will play out at the University of Ghana. From here at the Legon campus of the school, I'm Anor Kranting for JoyNews.
Manuel Kwanting with that report. Like I said, if you are a student, I do want to hear from you. Send us a message on 0540109009. So that is for the University of Ghana. What about the other universities? Let's go to the University of Cape Coast, where they have adopted the Indom School of Business as a satellite campus to reduce the pressure when it comes to accommodation. Currently, close to 1,000 students of the School of Business would be accommodated there and have their academic activities there as well. Richard Kojo-Nyako will join us shortly, but listen to the Director of Public Affairs at the university, Major Retired Kofi Barbintum, who indicates that the university would have all its stream of students on campus, but would run a hybrid system.
We brought in Zoom Lion through government's arrangement, and they've come in partnership with the university's own people. They have disinfected and fumigated the whole university. We have already placed our hand washing equipment at vantage points, so before you enter a hall of residence, you have to go through the procedure of hand washing and sanitizing. It is the same with the offices and also the same with the halls of residence. One thing we should note is that for UCC, this is not the first time we are doing this. When the COVID was at its peak and students were sent home, we opted to bring them back to come and write their final exams. And when they came back, they went through this regime. So for us, it is not new to us at all. To be honest with you, I don't have the figures of how many are in a room, but I think that whatever it is, we have factored in the issue of the COVID-19. And to make this even more simple for us, what we did as a university was that we arranged with the Indian School of Business and Technology, which is situated about 10-15 kilometers off the Takoradi Highway. So the facility has been given to us, and we've moved almost 1,000 of our fresh students there. It's already a school with excellent facilities. So that is where they will be administered from. They will have their lectures, they will have their sleeping accommodation there. There's a clinic, an auditorium, good lecture theaters, water, light, everything. So having taken that bunch off our heads here, it means that it has created more rooms for us to accommodate more people here. So that 800 to 1,000 students now are at the UCC satellite campus at the Indian School of Business and Technology.
Let me see when the continuing students are expected to arrive and what has been put in place for these as well. And now it seems you're almost through with the challenges you went through with settling the first years and all of that. Now let's look at the continuing students.
The priority has really been with the first year students because UCC, already has a policy of this in, out thing. So the first year students, even before they left, the continuing students, even before they left, most of them have done their accommodation arrangement. So when they come back, we expect that they will be, most of them will be in the private residential facilities all around the universities. The accommodation on campus, the first priority is for freshers. So the others also will make use if they are left over, and then there are a lot of good facility. Of the SNAIT hostel, for instance, and a lot of others around, so they will make use of those hostels. And I know that by now they would have done that long before this time.
Are you looking at some virtual learning as well? Because elsewhere, even the orientation, they are doing them virtually via Zoom, and the students in their respective rooms listening to the orientation and other lectures as well.
For the orientation, we are doing it physical, but what we did was that we have decentralized it, so it is being done at college levels. So if we have 5 colleges, it means that every college is having their separate orientation at a separate venue. So with that, it has cut down the number of people that will have to sit and interact at any given time. So that problem has been solved.
Some of the universities, for instance, like the University of Ghana, they settled for a double track system. I don't know why this one did not come to mind. Is it because you had earlier experimented doing when they came to write the exams and all of that, and you felt that it was safe for all of them to come back to campus?
Yes, we also have other plans that we've put in place. What we are actually looking at is, I don't know, I will call it a hybrid system, so that at any point in time we have one stream doing the physical, they will be in the classroom, and another stream who will be administered virtually. They will do the e-learning. Then after 1 week, I think there will be a swap, and then those who did the initial, they say will now also come to the classroom, and the other group will also be serviced through the virtual means. So it means that at any point in time we don't have the classrooms overstretched, because it is not everybody who will be. We are looking at the final years and then the level 100 who will be involved in the physical classroom kind of teaching, and then the others 200, 300, they will do more of the e-learning.
So I reckon that this one will put a bit of strain on the lecturers, because now they would have to be torn between the physical, the impersonal one, and then the virtual one as well.
Of course, but we are in a crisis situation, and everybody is supposed to give more so that we surmount the situation. So the lecturers are up to the task. They haven't complained, and they are ready to comply with the directive, so that together we will be able to surmount the challenges.
I'll take you to Cape Coast right now. My colleague Richard Kojonyako is joining us via Zoom, so we understand the situation over there in Central Region Universities. But just a quick one, messages that you sent in. This one says, I don't think the University of Ghana has the students' interest in mind, but just what they think would be okay for them, because you say the 6 weeks are not enough and it's making us lose interest in school or even disappointed. Well, this is not the time to be disappointed, I must add. This one says, I think the university authority should be looking at constructing more taller buildings that would come with more rooms, and you say that is a way to curb this. You don't add your name, but just 2 quick ones, and I go to Rachel. This one says, why would Nanado close school on 16th March? I'm not quite sure what you're saying. And this one says, the double track system will do more harm than good. If the management says that if they introduced the double track because of COVID, it's a lie. They did that because of residential issues. Richard Kojonyako is joining me via Zoom. Richard, we know that the UCC, when we've had quite the lengthy conversation you had, in which they describe how they are using Dr. Indum's school. But how are the students taking these arrangements?
Well, so that arrangement was made earlier, even before COVID-19. They came together and agreed that the Indum School of Business would be a separate university campus for the University of Cape Coast School of Business. So close to 1,000 of the students were sent there. So the accommodation facilities, it's a complete university, we are told. And so they are some comfortable situation there. There are no issues there. The students, the parents have no raised issues. What it is that when they go to the first year, they will be at the Indom University School of Business. Then when they come to the second year, then they will come to the University of Cape Coast main campus. And so every year, the men and women who choose the School of Business would be at the
have security persons who ensure that the persons have security persons and help.
Looks like I'm having a little bit of an overlap issue there, Richard. Richard, let's position you, and let's see if you can wrap this up for me once again. Richard, what were you saying again?
So what I was saying essentially is that at the University of Cape Coast, when you choose the School of Business, you go to the Indom School of Business and Technology for the first year. So when you come to the second and you become a continuing student, then you come to the University of Cape Coast main school. And so that is the arrangement that has been made. So it has sort of reduced the pressure by about 1,000. So all these 1,000 people would have been on the main campus, adding to the pressure of the university already. But they tell me that everything has been put in place. The university reopened on Saturday, and it seems that they are through with the accommodation issues. Earlier in the day, I was at the University of Education, Winneba, and they said that generally the university accommodates about 30% of the student population, but now they have had to adopt new strategies to send some of the students who didn't get accommodation on their campuses with their hostels and other things. So currently, the problem that they had over the weekend, it seems that the problem has subsided, and they are now through with the registration and the other things.
I see. Are these students that the university now has in excess, or are these, students who have had to move to other campuses just so we make space because of COVID-19?
Well, so at the University of Cape Coast, for instance, there is a policy, the in-out-out policy. So when you come to here, it is the responsibility of the university to get you accommodation. And so it appears that is what. But this year, because of the free SHS, the product of the free SHS, it looks as if that the university admitted more. And so that is why all of this pressure is coming. And if you look at the University of Education, it's the same thing. It is the product from the free SHS, the student that they had to take more. That is why it seems this year they are having issue with accommodation facilities.
Interesting. Richard, I just want to read a few messages and then I'll wrap up with you. There are people who are actually asking about admission, readmission, and people who are actually asking whether about orientation. I'm not sure we'll be able to provide those answers, but people are raising concerns about what the University of Ghana students are calling the double track system. This one doesn't mention the name, but he says, I don't think this double track has been introduced as a result of COVID, but it is rather a residential problem. I want to find out, Richard, whether or not there has been across the schools in the central region this arrangement of that people are calling double track system over there. Over here at the University of Ghana, it seems like something that's happening that students are not necessarily pleased with.
At the University of Education, and the University of Cape Coast, there is no such thing called double track at these two universities. What the University of Cape Coast, for instance, has adopted is a hybrid system where they will combine the virtual, the Zoom mode of learning. So what they have done is that this week, a group would be in the lecture theater and their counterpart will be at home receiving tutorials online, and then the following week, so they would be interchanging. So all the streams of the university are on campus, including the graduate students. So here, there is no such thing as double track system. All the stream of students are on campus and they are receiving academic activities.
Well, let me read this message as well. It says, we at the College of Health, Kintampo, will embark on a double track system. We are to spend 4 months to complete an academic year. At the same time, our fees is so exorbitant that we don't know what to do now. Our rents too expire soon. We, the second batch, will be home till March without online module. Hadi Sinari sent this from Techiman. Richard, are there concerns with how much will go into this rather new way of studying, where people get to study, online and come to the classroom as well? Are there any issues about fees and how much is to be paid?
Well, so there is no financial thing that has been placed on this one, except for the university authorities to say that they know that it's a burden that will be brought on the lecturers because they would have to combine the virtual and the physical learning module, something they have not been doing. But they indicate that because there is crisis, a call for sacrifice from all stakeholders, and so the university, they have been meeting, having series of meetings to talk about this, and all of them, their minds are made up that they're online, and then the personal lecture, the lecture and the other things would be of immense help. Otherwise, then they might have to resort to the double track or the triple track system elsewhere. So they are okay with the current arrangement they have put in place. Currently, the students are having the orientation. I'm currently in front of the Sam Jonah Library. They are having the orientation. But you look at the situation, and a lot of the students you meet, they are not in face masks. It looks as if that the compliance and the adherence would be in the halls of residence. When you are entering, then you'll be in your face mask. And then when you're entering the lecture theater, that will be in your face mask. But the number of people that I've met, the students that I've met on campus, about 40% of the people you meet on campus are not wearing face masks. Some of them they have, but they have put them in their pocket. When there is time for anybody to check them, they pull it up and then they put it on again.
Interesting. Richard, I'm going to have to move on to find out what the situation is at the KNUST. But Richard, thank you. Next time, I hope that I had the time, because I wanted to find out how private universities, if there are, in your jurisdiction, are doing. Do you have a brief answer for that before we move to KNUST, Richard?
The only private university I know in the central region would be the Indom School of Business, and that is what the University of Cape Coast has adopted as their satellite campus.
Okay. Richard, thank you very much. Richard Kojo-Nyarko is our central regional correspondent. Let's move from the central region. We'll go to the KNUST, where authorities have set aside holding rooms to accommodate, this situation that we've encountered, just in case any of such thing happened. Let's go to Prince Apia, who has been following up on that particular story for us. He's joining me via Zoom. Hello, Richard. Hello, Prince.
Hello, Gifty.
Great. So what more can you report? You've been monitoring the situation at KNUST. I know there are other technical universities across, the region as well.
Yes. Here at KNUST, the situation is pretty much different. Of course, the authorities have ensured that the protocols are being adhered strictly. Today, the VC herself and other leadership of the university went around all the halls and registration centers to ensure that the students and the lecturers and the health professionals who are being stationed in the various halls and premises were adhering to the protocol, the COVID-19 protocols. One thing, though, is that everywhere you pass, there are Veronica buckets, there are thermometer guns, and of course, they are ensuring that all these things are adhered to. Students are forced to wear their nose masks when you encounter anybody at all on campus and without your nose mask, they immediately stop you and ask you to put the nose mask on. Some, for instance, had their nose masks in their pockets, and some of the leadership had to call their attention and ask them to put them on. Another thing that we identified is the issue of accommodation that ordinarily would be a problem in most of the universities, as mentioned by Richard Kojo-Nyarko. Here at KNUST, authorities have partnered with about 180 hostels in the university catchment area, and what they are doing is to help augment the outpour of students who might not get the main halls on campus and support the process. So on the KNUST campus, the accommodation problem is not really a challenge this time around, because we know that as of now, a little over 20,000 students have reported. The main halls on campus is supposed to take a little over 9,000. And so the rest...
Jump in there briefly, if you may. You said that the university authorities have engaged with private hostels. What was the number again, 150 or 180?
180.
180 private hostels.
Yes, exactly. And what he said they are doing with them is that the they've helped them, in ways of managing COVID-19 and when it comes and how to ensure the protocols and all that. And they are also to help students who have not, who might not get a main halls on campus through an online system, and it has been very smooth as I speak to you now. So pretty much here on K University campus, things seem to be going on smoothly, Gifty.
Let me just read to you this message about costs for rent. So you address that issue for us as far as the region is concerned. This messenger says there are a lot of exorbitant rent charges being taken by landlords, and he is referencing University of Education Winneba. With this partnership that the KNUST is entering into with private hostels, is there a way to harmonize, the rent charges, or is it more like a one-on-one basis where the student has to negotiate on their own?
This, collaboration sort of with these private hostels, there's been a lot of discussions for a long time now. I think it's not only this year, for a number of years now, and that has come up, and the university has taken the leadership to engage these hostel leaders on why the prices of and the cost of rent of these hostels must be moderate, and that has gone on for some time now. So since the university is now trying to work with the private hostels in this particular situation, it tells you that has been trashed out, and students will be okay with that.
Well, we'll get more, I'm sure, more answers as we go along. But speaking about partnering with private entities, take a look at this message that I just got. This one says, I'm a lecturer in one of the private universities here in Accra, and it appears the concentration is more on the public universities. The private sector needs more attention in terms of ensuring the strict adherence to the protocols. Most have smaller classrooms, and to have the student in strand forms implies more workload on faculties. And the more the workload, the more financial pressure on the system. And if the school owners are not ready to bear, the private universities will operate by the normal system, which means bigger classrooms. This is not safe for the students. Please, how many private, tertiary institutions are there? If you can recall and put that together for me. Is it a big deal in the Ashanti region, private tertiary education?
Not so much. There's the Kesbe University, there's the Garden City University College, there is the Kumasi Technical University, there is the Valley View, the Central University campus over here as well, the K University, of course, and a couple of them, I'm not sure they'll be up to 10, together with the public universities, I should say. And so it is pretty much something that needs to be looked at, Gifty. Okay.
I wonder if you have had any discussions or conversations with any of the students and what their feedback has been. Here in Accra, some of the students at the University of Ghana are not excited about what they're calling the double track system that the university is hoping to run, so that they reduce the number of people in classes. What can you say as far as that is concerned from your end?
From this side, there's been nothing like that. There's been no such talks of double track system in the universities, and the university, K University, for instance, is going with what they call the hybrid system, and so they are going to do the online system, especially for classes that have large numbers. They will not go to the classrooms in that capacity. And most of them will have to join on Zoom, and others will have to go to the classroom. So that is to manage the numbers for classes that have large numbers. And so that is happening. And the school authorities say that they've trained their lecturers for close to 2 months to be able to accommodate this new system. And so they are very much abreast with that. And again, the university is in partnership with Vodafone. And what they are doing is that they've increased the internet bandwidth. And again, they are giving students SIM cards, which will be which has internet bundles that will be renewed every month on the 25th of every month with some gigabytes of bundles, which means that the students will be able to join the Zoom lectures and online classes wherever they are with ease. And that is what is happening here at KNUST.
Well, Prince, I did chance upon a picture which from one of the universities that they're calling virtual orientation. In this virtual orientation, you have a picture of the person who is addressing the people, who is joining via video, but everybody else on campus is sitting down there in one room watching one person on TV. Would that be KNUST?
I don't think so.
Actually, it is. It is KNUST. I mean, so if they're saying virtual orientation, maybe authorities can help us understand. Virtual orientation where only one person is joining via video, and then hundreds or, dozens are all in one room watching one person on TV.
Well, ma'am, I didn't come across that. I don't know, perhaps maybe that happened over the weekend or
okay.
I don't know. But
okay.
Seriously, some of the classroom, like the Great Hall, for instance, the students were spaced out properly, adhering to the protocols, and we're going through some orientation of a sort at the Great Hall as at this afternoon.
Okay.
And so far I've not seen any virtual orientation. Perhaps it's happening elsewhere, but I've not seen that.
Okay. Well, Prince, I'll leave that to you, and hopefully when you get the chance to engage with the authorities at KNUST, we'll find out what they mean by virtual, school or virtual orientation or virtual engagement, when all the students are gathered in one class, watching one person who happens then to be the only safe person then. But also, someone is drawing our attention with this final message that I'll read to you, Prince, that what is happening also at the training colleges and the nursing training colleges specifically. He says, is there anything happening on that front over there?
Nothing as at now, but what we know is that the authorities have ensured that all the tertiary institutions across will adhere to the protocols and, of course, ensure that students are safe when they come on campus.
Prince, thank you very much. Prince Apia is our correspondent in the Ashanti region, joining us via Zoom there. Let me read some of your message. I want to take a very quick break. But before that, this one says, the management of University of Ghana is very insensitive. They should have considered the opinion of students at large before implementing this double track. Even SHS students have now stopped the double track. GES should stop them. He says, we, the students of UG, don't support the implementation of the double track. We're calling on the President Nana to intervene. It will not help us. I'm very happy JoyNews is anchoring this, although it's late. You think it's late? Well, I don't know about that. This one says, please kindly come to Kintampo College of Health and Well-Being. This is from Dr. Kwejo Yilaj in Kintampo. He has a very long write-up in which he says it is more swag, flex, and prestigious to be a student of KNUST or Legon than to be a student of UUW, UCC, UDS. However, that does not determine who becomes great in future. Never compete with students from other schools. Build bonds and not bonds. A very long one. Just the first line I could read at this point. Thank you very much for sending that in. This one says, hello, Gifty. When is the government going to release PPEs to the basic schools? We'll have to check on that one as well. And this one says the minimum that one can afford a hostel at KNUST is now 3,000 cedis. I wish I had Prince on to help us ascertain this. He says, and that's even for 4 in 1 room, while academic fees are just 1,400 to just 2,500. So you mean you're paying more for the hostel than you're paying for your fees. This means the hostel fees are even more, than academic fees. Meanwhile, it is because of academics that we are there. You don't add your name. But once again, thank you for sending in your message. Mohammed Awal from Tamale said, with all these issues at hand, management should possibly think of reducing student intake to match the school's available accommodations. Well, mind you, we have students who have also completed free SHS, a huge number of them, I must say. Some more messages coming in. Good afternoon. Amustade, formerly UEW Kumasi campus from Sly. Sly, I'm not sure what your message is, but thank you for sending it. You might want to clarify it subsequently. Right, this one says the management of the University of Ghana has adopted this track system to test their plan of reducing the accommodation problem. I ask fellow students to bear with the management and pray for the school. I'm going to take a quick break. When I return, we'll be joined by a representative from UTAG so we can have a conversation. He's the national president of the UTAG. We can have a conversation about how we deal with this and how do we even deal with the numbers that will be in the classroom. Are we thinking of that as yet? Do we have a plan? What is that plan? To what extent is it feasible? Do stay with me. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the conversation here on The Pulse. Thank you very much for staying with us. Let's return to our conversation earlier about the reopening of tertiary schools, the issues about accommodation, what students are calling double track system at the University of Ghana, the cost involved in securing accommodation, and the number of people expected to be in a class to prevent COVID-19. Professor Charles Marfo is the national president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. He's joining us right now. Prof, thank you very much. Good afternoon. It is early days yet, I'm sure, but what are your observations on how the tertiary institutions are responding, first of all, to the reopening? Prof, I think you are muted.
Are you good now?
We're good. We're
Hello?
good.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Thank you.
As you rightly pointed out, it's early days yet, but I think the universities have prepared enough. I mean, management had meetings with most of us, and the plans they have put in place. Considering the fact that we are in a new normal, you just have to adjust. And so we knew they cannot have prepared adequately, but then they can only do enough. And when it comes to KNUST, yes, the students are on campus, not had any problems yet, except I guess you heard about some fire at the dawn of Sunday, which happened to be a very minor situation. Of course, it could have been a very serious one, but for the swift intervention of management and the fire service personnel. But then when it comes to accommodation, the problem has been an age-old one, which somebody should be responsible. As I said, public universities are under the ambit of government. And so one would have expected that when everybody knew SSS, these huge numbers are coming to university, some decision should have been taken some 3 years ago. But of course, typical of us, we wait and play the ostrich, right? As if we didn't think it would happen. And so for me, nothing has changed. I mean, it's normal for students to be struggling to look for accommodation. That has been the order. So I'm not surprised at all. And so somebody should be responsible for it.
Why don't we put that responsibility at the doorstep of the university management, because they also know that this was going to be it is an age-old problem, like you said, and they should have known that with the intake of more students at the SHS level, we're going to have a lot more coming in when we open admissions.
Fantastic. And there is a hierarchy of power, isn't it? The university management can do so much. At the end of the day, they have to work with government. I believe you know very well that universities are paid by government subvention, and we don't pay ourselves. So how would anybody out there expect the management to be building anything? That is not to say that they did not do the appropriate consultations. I know for sure that they have been in touch with government so that necessary intervention could be put in place so that accommodations, which are not built in a day or two, could be done. But that is what I said. When we thought about students' number increasing 3 years ago, somebody should have put that plan in place too. And I'm telling you that that consultation has been there for a long time.
Isn't there a way that the
are.
university management can, for lack of a better expression, Prof, think outside the box in terms of dealing with this? I just spoke to one of my colleagues at the KNUST in Kumasi, or the Ashanti region, who said at the KNUST they are partnering with about 180 private hostels, which is something that is done elsewhere, UK, United States. Why hasn't the University of Ghana been able to do that to sort of streamline the search for accommodation and make the things easier for students?
You know, you and I do not know what University of Ghana has done as at now. And I wouldn't even profess to be speaking for them. But I'm pretty much sure that they've done exactly what KNUST is doing, collaborating with the private hostels so that students could be helped.
We haven't had any such reports.
Not to say that, you mean?
We haven't had any such reports about collaboration, University of Ghana's collaboration with private...
Oh, it's been there. It's been there for ages, until a few years ago when we had this massive hostel infrastructure that was done, which has in fact brought them so much problems. I mean, you can, I don't know if you will follow it, but they've been accused of engaging in partnership and securing loans without even government support or approval. I guess you've heard that. See? And so these are some of the challenges. To say that somebody has not thought outside the box is so easy to say. I've heard it several times, and sometimes I ask myself, which box are they talking about? Which box? When you could hardly do anything, you know. So please, let's not, begin to say that UJ has not done anything. I think they've done enough. I wouldn't profess that maybe they've done everything, but look, there's a step one could go. You come to KNUST, it's the same thing. We've collaborated with the private industry, but what I'm really saying is that it is becoming too typical of us to have problems staring right at our face, do nothing about it, and when the problem strikes, we begin to pretend as if we didn't know it will happen. For me, it is sad.
What do you think we should have done? I mean, as a country, as universities, what do you think should have been the intervention so we didn't have this problem blowing up in our faces like this?
I mean, I can use KNUST examples and tell you that over the years, KNUST have tried to engage private partners to come and build hostels, right? We have had a number of them. I can count over 50. So initially they come, you give them the land, and then they go and they never come back. What I've gathered is that securing credit has always been a problem. And so that is to tell you that for the private individuals or private firms going to engage certain financial institutions to come and build accommodation has always been a problem. This is a problem I believe government knows. And you see, normally we are not comfortable hearing the word government because we seem to be thinking about the government in power. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about an institution of state called government. We believe, I believe that when we decided to expand facilities at the beginning of education, basic school, SSS, one would have thought, and in fact, it is common knowledge that you will know that these students will be coming to us, and I mean the tertiary institutions. And so, since securing credit to build these accommodations is becoming so difficult for universities to secure, and we believe that governments could do that. Yes, government could do that because having they done it in the secondary schools, amazing work across the secondary schools, buildings being springing up everywhere. Couldn't we have done the same in the universities in the name of accommodation for them? I think we could have met
losing you a little.
The university help, and that is not to put management into any difficult situation, but this is the reality on the ground.
Don't you get the feeling, Prof?
Nothing new is here.
Don't you get the feeling, Prof, that with the issues that governments, and I'm saying governments in plural governments, have had with accusations of academic, interfering in academic freedoms, that this would have been one of the areas of friction between governments should they decide. Maybe they're just leaving things to the university to manage, because this may sound like micromanaging if you are a government and you want to now build institutions, hostels on university campuses.
No.
I'm wondering why you are so excited about this question, Prof.
I'm smiling because I mean, I could see. I think you even seem very uncomfortable trying to, link this to building infrastructure for development. I've always said this. When this thing about government interference came, I've always said that, did you hear GIMPA complaining? No, because they see themselves as a free-paid institution, yet, although maybe government. Trust me, we have not been even allowed to even increase school fees in public universities, right? That is where, and we have not cried about interferences. So that body that was able to tell us not to increase fees should have known that we would need more accommodations. If we think that is because we will see that as influence with the womb belt, my dear, there we are. That's the problem we are in.
What role can UTAG play? Now we're looking at a situation at the University of Ghana where I've had several messages here, and I can read for you some, where the students are saying they don't agree with what they're calling double track, because the university wants some people to come at a particular time and others come at another time. They're calling it double track. They say we don't want it. What can an organization like UTAG, which is a key stakeholder, do in this situation, you think?
UTAG, trust me, has been doing enough. And let me start with infant accommodation. UTAG and GAWA, we constitute what we call the senior members of the university, right? And then we have our own pension scheme called the GOS, Ghana Universal, something like the SS always beats me up. But it is a pension scheme for us. And through that pension schemes, you go to universities like KNUST, even UG, UCC, and they have contributed to the provision of accommodation for students. So you come to KNUST and most huge accommodation mansions you see around were built by GOS. And so we have done a lot of contributions there. And we believe that if we are even supported, we can do better, rather than somebody saying we should join SNIT. That is a fight on the hot banner now, that we should join SNIT. But we will come there someday. Come to the serious point. And I think the double shifts, as you said, I think the students should begin to appreciate what management is trying to do. I mean, we've been home for what? About 9 months now.
Yeah.
As I said, everybody knows we are not in normal times. But then we believe that as a nation, we should move forward because the world is not waiting for us. And so management are doing everything possible to accommodate them so that academically can go on. If one way of doing it is for them to shift, as you said, double track, I think we should always sit down and then discuss with Giorgio and come to some finality, some decisions taken.
All right.
But to say that you don't like it does not solve the problem.
Some of them say they don't like it. Others have said that at least they should have had that
perhaps
conversation.
It's than none.
Some say they don't like it. Others
that is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they should have had that conversation with them before trying to implement this.
Oh, that I agree. They should have had that conversation.
Okay. My final question.
This is where normally I say the students are often normally, forgive me, strange. These decisions are taken normally on academic board and council, where these students are represented.
Okay.
So when they say we don't know about it, sometimes it's worrying. It's just to say that they don't even, or basically undermining their own representation on these bodies.
I understand that. Prof, my final question, by the way, before you go, is about class sizes. I don't know if you have started going to the classroom already, or if your members have started going to the classroom. How are they dealing with the class sizes when it comes to, as far as COVID-19 is concerned? We're just been told that our numbers are going all the way up.
Great question. I mean, this is perhaps one of the reasons why UG thought it wise to have double track, right? Because resources are not enough. And so in order to share, so to speak, this double track baby might have come into the picture. When we come to KNUST, we decided not to do double track. We said all the students should come because we knew that if we do double track, we don't have total control on all accommodations. And so those that would be out will still be holding private accommodations, right?
Yeah.
And so we said, in that case, let them all come. What we are trying to do is to exploit technology to the highest, to the extent that we are saying that once people are on campus, Wi-Fi is free. And so when classes are taken on, are going on in one class, a student can even sit under a tree and participate, or be in the hostel and depart, right?
And how do we determine who goes to the classroom and who stays under the tree? Is it by first come, first serve?
No, yes, we didn't want to make this strict, but I gave it to individual lecturers to take care of, so that if you know that, I mean, I have a class, one class that is about 800 students, right? And I have a classroom that can take about 400 students. And I decided that, look, I have a class list that every other class, 2 groups, one of them should be in class. That's just as I said, there's no rigid rule here, but we are saying that we should put in our best. Maybe that is where your point of thinking outside the box comes in. But the point is this:
but I think
we should find a way.
And the problem is that finding a way has been sort of left to the discretion of one single lecturer, if you like. So if you're a lecturer in this particular class, deal with it how you deem fit. So I think that, I guess the concern has been that there hasn't really been a standardized, process for everybody to say, at least this is what we are all doing. I think that's where perhaps the problem is.
There is, if you come to KNUST, I don't profess to be speaking for the university. Please, let's underscore that point.
Fair enough.
The university have a URO, so maybe, but I've been part of some of these meetings, and there is some standard, right? But we did not. In fact, some of us said that we don't have to make it rigid, just for the fact that we are not in normal times. So just to the extent that the student can also take some novel initiatives, right, to even meet the steps the universities are taking. So at the end of the day, that is why I said we should all take towards getting into the middle ground, to the extent that at least we could have some semblance of total academic work to the benefit of the students. And so if anybody is going to talk about rigidity, standard, my dear, we will do nothing.
All right.
But I don't think that is what we want to do.
Doc, I say a very big thanks to you. Unless you have any, final message that you want to put across in, say, 30 seconds, that's it for me.
Yes, to the students, I would say that they should, welcome whatever plans that the various managements are putting in place and work with management, because, as I said, it is for their own interest. I also urge my colleagues, this is difficult, I know. Most of us are going to even be stressed out very much, but you see, this is for God and country. Let's help.
For God and country. Prof, thank you very much. Professor Charles Marfo is president of University Teachers Association of Ghana. We've been talking about spacing out our classrooms and, accommodation on campuses. Let me go on Zoom right now. I have Professor Charles Marfo. Well, looks like I've lost Professor Charles Marfo, who is the president of UTAG. We'll try and get him so we have this conversation, broaden it a little bit. Well, I'm taking you to another campus. The Dean of the University of Professional Studies, Accra Law School, Dr. Ernest Kofi Abochi, is calling for circumspection from politicians in a commentary on Supreme Court judges. He argues that allegations without facts leveled against the judges could destroy public confidence in the judiciary, which could lead to conflict and chaos. NDC Chief Whip Muntaka Mubarak on Sunday night alleged, without any evidence adduced, that a Supreme Court judge offered an NDC MP bribe to vote for the MPP's candidate for Speaker. Speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of a UPSA Law School and One Ghana Movement Constitution Day lecture, Dr. Kofi Abochi says such allegations do not help the work of the judiciary at all.
suggestion is that in places like India, for example, where a simple letter to the Supreme Court can actually invoke its jurisdiction, the Supreme Court can look on that as ways of minimizing the impact of some of the procedural requirements in terms of how the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is imposed. But again, I did mention the fact that the Supreme Court has actually made some strides over the years in terms of removing some of the procedural obstacles. And the one that I mentioned notably in this respect is the Supreme Court's shifting away or moving away from the imposition of costs, for example, for wrong steps that are taken to the Supreme Court or for, say, a wrongful invocation of its jurisdiction. These days, the Supreme Court doesn't impose costs. And I think that's a notable progress that has been made. But my humble appeal again is that we should build up on that.
Just yesterday, we heard a senior politician level an accusation against a Supreme Court judge that he would not name. This is a serious issue and should be of concern. You are a lawyer yourself of many years standing at the bar. I mean, what do you think should be done, especially when tensions are high and people are looking at the apex court in the coming days?
I will charge, and not charge, but I will urge our political class to be circumspect in our pronouncements, because Supreme Courts, not just Supreme Court, the courts generally survive on confidence in their work. And therefore, if there's an allegation, particularly one which is not established, but is thrown out there, the prospect that this can create not only suspicion in the minds of people, but actually dampen the mandate and the legitimacy of the court is serious. And I can tell you what, in many countries that fell victim to civil wars, the starting point was to bastardize the courts. Once you bastardize the court, it's people think that there is no avenue for resolution, so they fight it on the streets. I think we should be very careful the extent to which we bastardize our courts. Look, people have all kinds of suspicions and allegations. People say all kinds of things, but saying things, particularly when you're a member of parliament, I think can demand a certain higher level of responsibility, because a lot of people follow you. So I do not know the factual basis on which the statement is made, but once the statement is not being submitted to a particular forum for investigation, and once the details of this are not being mentioned, then what you do is literally to put and cast the entire Supreme Court in doubt and create question marks on the minds of every justice of the court, and this is not good enough. So I do not know I haven't heard the comment you're talking about. I haven't really monitored it. You are just saying it to my hearing for the first time, but I think that any general allegation that seeks to bastardize the court and bastardize justices of the court can be undermining of the confidence that people have in the court, and that is problematic for all, not for any political party, but for the entire country.
Should such allegations be probed, or should the court take an interest in that matter? We know its powers of contempt operate. If it feels that, why do you make such an allegation? Come forward and explain, or be punished for it.
Well, of course. Again, I haven't heard the statement, so I'm not sure what the context in which it was made was. But any allegation tending to raise serious questions about the behavior of a Supreme Court judge, not just a Supreme Court judge, any judge, is one that deserves investigation. In fact, the Constitution has stated that a judge, when cited for stated misbehavior, can be removed from office. So I think it may be one in which the Chief Justice may want to look into. I haven't heard the details you're telling me, but clearly, because it creates an indictment and because it may have the potential of undermining confidence, it's something that I'm sure the court will not want to look at lightly and just turn a blind eye to, and it's something in respect of which whoever is making the allegation must also be ready to prove.
Well, Dr. Abochi also has been blaming the desire of the two main parties to exploit the powers of Parliament as the reason for the violence that marred the just-ended election of a Speaker of the House.
The ongoing heated attempts by both parties currently to lead the House is largely born out of a desire to exploit the powers of the institution to its benefit from the standpoint of the majority. Should the ruling party secure the majority in Parliament, government will anticipate a free ride in its business with the institution, if history is anything to go by. And should the opposition party gain the most seats in Parliament, the government can expect frustrating obstructions. In short, Parliament has become a tool for the pleasure or pain of the executive, and its core functional purpose has been lost on all of us. Parliament's preference for majoritarianism has fragmented the institution for so long, and the conventional explanation that
Back-channel dealings by MPs is the linchpin of their work, affords little assurance to a skeptical public who have come to view Parliament with growing doubt and even suspicion. The bright lines drawn between the parties on key issues of government policy presented to the House for approval crowds out objectivity, and this principle reinforces the essence of might being right.
Yeah, let's hear from managing partner of ENS Africa, Elikem Kwenye here, who was chairman for the lecture, describing the actions of the MPs last Thursday as, quote, barbaric.
Last Thursday, though, I had to bow my head in shame, literally, when I saw those images of a few of our parliamentarians acting so, forgive my language, barbaric. As if it was not bad enough, on each of the several Zoom and Microsoft Teams meetings I attended that day, and many emails and WhatsApp messages that I received and continue to receive from around the world, I was asked about the shocking images going fast and furious around the world. The climax of my embarrassment was when my teenage nephew asked me about the clip. What moral authority do I now have to continue to insist that disputes are resolved by the mouth and not the fist? I do hope the full might of the relevant rules are applied to those behind this to set a precedent that our dignity of Parliament is never made to stoop so low. I'm also saddened, although highly enlightened, by the verdict, perhaps damning verdict, delivered this morning. Sleeping and disengaged citizens who have not as yet, at least the vast majority, heeded the President's call to be citizens and not spectators.
Notice Kwenye here there with his thoughts on what happened. They were speaking at the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Let's stay a little bit in the Ashanti region. Now, 2 persons have been arrested by the Menchia Divisional Police Command in connection with a fire that gutted the top floor of a market building at Abuabo Station in Kumasi. They include a shop owner and a welder. He engaged for repair works in the shop. About 30 shops housing plastic bags and other highly flammable goods were affected in Sunday's inferno. ACP Kwekubua is commander for the Menchia Divisional Police.
Ensuring that people who have their wares inside can safely and securely bring their wares from within this badly burnt building. Yes, that's what we are doing now. We are not allowing anybody to go inside. You are there with us. You saw how bad the upper floor is. It could collapse in any moment from now. I'm not an engineer, but I'm telling you that that top floor can easily collapse. And if we allow people to go in, we are sure to get some casualties.
What happened to the 2 people who were arrested?
Oh, they are in custody and they are assisting with the police investigations.
What charge?
We have to investigate before we charge. If you have not done investigation, you can't charge anybody. We are investigating, so they are surely assisting us in our investigations. But let me tell you something. If someone causes an act without intending to cause it, but causes it without such reasonable care and skill as are necessary under the circumstances, that person can be held for negligently causing that event. That's where we are looking at.
The scene has since been cordoned off with police protection. Police and the National Disaster Management Organization are helping occupants of the ground floor to put themselves together. Nanaya Jima will give us a quick recap of the areas that were caught up in this inferno. Nanaya, you have been speaking to ACP Kweku Abua. Tell us more. What more has he been saying?
So, according to ACP Boa himself and other security agencies, namely the military and also the fire service and the NADMO, have been on the ground and they are assessing the building. And if need be, the building will be pulled down. So, by the time that I left the area, the persons in charge of the structural integrity were making their way to the area to assess the building and also find safe means of helping the occupants of the ground floor to bring out their wares. So the security agencies and also NADMO are on the ground and they are doing their possible best to ensure that the people, occupants who have their wares in their shops, which were not affected by the inferno, are able to salvage their wares.
Nanaya, thank you very much. Nanaya Jima is my colleague who has been following up on this fire incident for us in the Ashanti region. We'll keep our eyes on it. Now, away from that, the Ghana Medical Association is calling for a review of COVID-19 protocols following a surge in active cases. According to the Ghana Health Service, the country has currently recorded 1,261 active cases with 338 people dying. General Secretary Dr. Justice Jansen indicates that health centers are gradually getting overwhelmed with cases. But before we hear from Dr. Jansen, here are excerpts of the harrowing story of JoyNews' Raymond Aqua, who recently recovered from COVID-19.
So when I was told I had COVID, I asked my doctor, what should I do? He said, no, let's see what happens immediately. Stay with the treatment plan. As the time that he was talking to me, because I had taken the drugs, for the next 2 hours, it was an ordinary situation for me. I mean, I wasn't feeling super excited and all of that, but it was just okay. It was hours after that, when the situation started deteriorating, that I had to rush to the hospital.
We'll get to that.
Because, see, there's a thinking that, and me, I felt for my age, for somebody of my status, and maybe health status, the best COVID could do to me was keep me in bed for 2 days or 3 days.
Yeah.
So that is what I was bracing myself for, a repeat of those feverish conditions. Regardless of how terrible it was supposed to be, the only extreme thought I had in mind was that, okay, I'll stay in bed for a couple of days. I mean, many people do, and they get better with time, and they get improved, and everything gets to work perfectly. But it wasn't that way. If I was not rushed to the hospital that night, when I was struggling to breathe, I'm so convinced that I'll not be alive today.
So what happened when you got to the hospital, Raymond? I mean, were you able to breathe immediately? You were taken to the hospital?
No, not at all. In fact, immediately they had to put me on some machine to help me breathe, put me in a wheelchair, scale me around, find me a bed, ask me to wait for a while. Then I finally got a bed, and they transferred me into a better place for me to be able to lie down. That was painful. That was excruciating. It was the time I felt, if I cannot breathe at this time, I am almost gone. Indeed, it was almost like there's a small opportunity for you to breathe, but the air is not coming out into your lungs or coming out into your system. So you have pains all over your body, and yet you are struggling to breathe. Indeed, they brought a big tank, the oxygen tank, to replace the smaller one that they gave me previously. Even in that state, I was still convinced I'm struggling to breathe.
Raymond Aqua there, who thankfully has recovered from COVID-19. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Justice Jansen, is calling for an overhaul of our measures, especially testing. He spoke on the Super Morning Show.
I think that we should call a spade a spade. As a country, gradually, we are going to sleep as far as COVID-19 is concerned. The situation is that, one, enforcement is not happening at any levels whatsoever. By enforcement, I mean all the protocols that we have put in place. Let's be truthful to ourselves. Look at how, for example, the UK police are out there enforcing all the measures that have been put in place. And look at what is happening at our end. The president speaks to us. He's been so great. He tells us that, look, certain activities are still banned. And look at what happened throughout the festivities. And even during the political season. Has anybody been brought to book for any particular action? And we see any enforcement whatsoever happening along the line.
Well, for his part, Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwin, admits that although they had challenges with personnel, the service will step up contact tracing in the coming weeks.
Until about
I would say 10 days ago, that we started having slightly higher cases than discharges. So if you have more cases than discharges, then it tells you that you are going to have an increase in active cases. So I would say that over the past 1 week, there's an increase in number of cases. But I want to put something in perspective. Because we changed our guideline, now we are actually managing cases which hitherto would have been managed at home in the hostels. So they are also occupying some of the space. So that one means that the available space that we were supposed to use for cases are now being used by relatively asymptomatic cases. I mean, that's something I want to put across.
But having put that across, it's also important we find out. So the increasing cases, what could be the cause of the increasing cases that we're experiencing currently?
Yes, so I think one is, we open our airport on the 1st of September. And if you look at the data over the period, I mean, the first month, we had just 46 cases. Then we went to 98, then went to 126, then now we're over 300. So quite a number of our cases are actually imported cases. That's
Dr. Bequin there. We want to take care of ourselves from a little above 900. We're way above 1,000 right now. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll bring you sports after this break.
This is now time to bring you Sport on Pulse. My name is Hans Mensando. Some 60 minutes of the action down at the Accra Sports Stadium. Kumasi Asante Koroko's game against Liberty Professional. The big story is the man on your screen. Fabio Gama provided 2 assists for the Porcupine Warriors as they lead Liberty by 2-0. The second I have seen, sumptuous long ball from the center of the pitch to Kwame Poku, who made no mistake and buried it. He's trending out there on social media. We'll definitely be getting the highlights of that one later at 10:30 p.m. on Fun Zone. Let's move on to some Ghanaian players abroad who are making a return from injury. We begin with Thomas Tepate, and he had a very good beginning for the Gunners, not least that game against Manchester United, where he totally bossed the midfield, but he's been injured for some time now, only returning to the first team fold and has begun training. However, he's yet to make a return onto the field, and we saw in his absence the effect it had on Arsenal. My colleague Benaya Elom joins me to assess what sort of impact he's going to be making on Mikel Arteta's side as he returns. Surely, Partey was a miss during the days when he was injured.
As you said, his remarkable performance against Manchester United still stands out. One of his best performances since he signed for Arsenal. And Arsenal are really going to be happy getting him back in their team because they've really missed him a lot. I'm not a big fan of Granit Xhaka, Elneny, and Ceballos in midfield. They need a player like Thomas Partey who's going to give them that kind of presence they need, both defensively and in attack, because we all know the qualities that Thomas Partey possesses.
Let's take a listen to Mikel Arteta speaking on why Partey is yet to feature for the Gunners despite making a return from injury. Thomas Partey has made a return but yet to feature for the Gunners. The other Ghanaian player who's making a return from injury is Mohamed Kudus, who got injured on his Champions League debut against Liverpool, and that was crushing considering a young player who had always dreamt of playing the Champions League. Minutes into that game, he gets injured.
Country was mourning for Mohamed Kudus when that happened because a lot of Ghanaians were hoping to watch out for Kudus in the Champions League against Liverpool. We all know after Hakim Ziyech left Van de Beek, Kudus was the next poster boy for Ajax, only for that to happen. But it's good news he's returned back from injury, and it's also good news for the Black Stars as well.
We'll be getting to the Black Stars, but he played 10 minutes for Ajax against PSV Eindhoven over the weekend. What did you make of his performance in that game, in the short minutes that he had?
Well, he did okay for a player just returning from injury, even though we know that Kudus possesses more talent than what we saw yesterday. He's just warming up his way to full fitness. So yesterday was just to get him some minutes in the legs So that, I think that was just what yesterday was all about. But the Kudus we know is yet to be seen, and I think in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, Kudus will be back.
Is it a case of us looking at a player who is going to be walking straight back into that Ajax midfield, or he's going to have some competition in there to deal with in order for him to nail a place?
I think once he's fit and starts firing, I think he's going to walk back straight into the Ajax starting 11 because he possesses a lot of talent. He has this kind of quality, and he's also versatile. He can play as to the number 10, play as the number 8, the number 6, play on the wing. He's that kind of player every coach would like to have in his team. And for a player to be bought for that amount from Nordland to Ajax, I think he's not going to sit on the bench because he's a top player. And mind you, with the way Ajax are hyping him and the marketing behind him, it won't be good for him to sit on the bench. They will surely start him for buyers like Madrid, Barca, Chelsea FC, and the likes, this kind of big clubs to have eyes on him. Yeah.
They've got bigger things and bigger dreams for Mohamed Kudus, but you mentioned the Black Stars, and in the two players we've been talking about, you're probably looking at a central midfield partnership for the Black Stars of Ghana. Let's go back to Partey and what influence, or what boost his return hands the Black Stars of Ghana. They've got games coming up in the next few months for the AFCON qualifiers and the World Cup qualifiers as well. What sort of boost are we looking at for Siki Akono and his challenge?
Well, it's a huge boost for the Black Stars. We all remember Mohamed Kudus' last feature for the Black Stars was against South Africa in November 2019, where he got his debut goal. He performed really well. And we all know the quality Thomas Partey possesses anytime he walks into the Black Star team, what he does and what he offers to the team. So having Thomas Partey back to the team and also Mohamed Kudus, I think is going to give the Black Stars that kind of quality in attack and creativity that we've been lacking. Against Sudan like this, we lacked creativity and presence in midfield. And that was why we got beat by Sudan when we went away. So they coming back to the Black Stars is really going to help us in our qualification against South Africa and Sao Tome.
And there were issues with Mohamed Kudus as far as the Black Stars is concerned. For their last game, he was not allowed to travel by Ajax. We understand that the player was injured. Well, days after the Black Stars had played, we saw Mohamed Kudus training and indeed playing for Ajax. COVID continues to linger. He's just returned from injury. Are we looking at a likely scenario where Ajax are going to take a look at his recuperation, coupled with COVID, and deny him access or a return to the Black Stars as well? Is this something that we should brace ourselves for?
Well, I don't think that's going to happen again because he's returned back from injury. Mind you, he could have featured 3 games back, but Ajax decided to wait a little bit and bring him out yesterday, which is January. So he's had enough time to recover. And March, that's 3 months away from now, is far away, and it will be long enough to get him fully fit. So I don't think there will be any excuse for Ajax not to release him to the Black Stars.
What was interesting, which also brings us to Thomas Partey on the same situation, also returning from injury. The COVID numbers in England, staggering. You get a sense there that maybe Arsenal could also find a reason not to release the player for the national team.
Well, that could possibly happen, but I think the GFA or the FA are going to they must find ways and means to lure Arsenal to release Thomas Partey, because we can't let our best players, we can't keep them in their clubs whilst we suffer here in our country, because mind you, we need that qualification. If we fail to get results against Sao Tome and South Africa, we are doomed. Ghanaians are not going to leave these players alone because it's country first before anything.
And finally, on these 2 players, we see players begin brightly with their new teams, get injured, and they are never the same again. Are we looking at 2 players who can simply overcome this setback, if you like, with respect to their injury and get back to the form that they were in before they got injured? Or we should be open to the possibility that these are players who could struggle mentally because of the injury and not perform at the levels that we saw them perform?
Well, with a player like Thomas Partey, I think he's well experienced enough. He's a player in his prime. And playing for Arsenal, there isn't much expectation for Arsenal at the moment. So I think there's no pressure on him to, kind of, we know Thomas Partey, he's that kind of calm guy. He brings that coolness and calmness in his game. So I think it's not going to have an impact on a player like Kudus.
Kudus is young.
Yeah, Kudus is quite young, and he's at the right club and with the right coach. they will nurture him. He's going to have more time to learn and more time to regain back his feet. And remind you, Ajax produces one of the, like, they produce talent. Absolutely. They nurture them. Absolutely. So there isn't going to be much pressure. Come on, Kudus. There's not going to be pressure on him to perform or deliver because the system is already there. So he's just going to fit in, and that's all what matters. It's not like he's playing in the English Premiership or like the likes of Real Madrid or Chelsea, Manchester, whereby there will be a lot of pressure on him to deliver. But he's in Ajax and in the Netherlands League. There isn't much pressure there. There will be more time for him to gain back his fitness and his confidence.
Thomas Partey returns for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta said he wasn't ready in the last game. Hopefully, in subsequent games, we will be seeing him. Same for Mohamed Kudus. Saw 10 minutes of the action as Ajax drew 2-2 against PSV Eindhoven in the Dutch Eredivisie. So we should be seeing those two players fully back in action for their respective clubs and also for the senior national team when they convene for their respective national assignments. But it's still 2-0 in favour of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. They lead Liberty Professionals by 2-0 at the Accra Sports Stadium. Fabio Gama is the talk of town, provided 2 assists. You should see the second one. We'll definitely show you the highlight later on at 10:30 p.m. right here. What do you call him? That's an interesting one. But I'll bring you the highlight later on Fun Zone at 10:30 p.m. Do join me. My name is Hans Mensando. Thank you very much, Benaya. Yeah, that's it for sports.
Well, how about you join Aisha Ibrahim to enjoy those tunes on PM Express Personality Profile. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is where I draw the curtain. But remember, there is more news at myjoyonline.com, and I'll urge you to log on and share our link with your friends. Many thanks for your time.